The making of porn. I wish everyone could see what the experience is really like. Sometimes you meet great guys and genuinely enjoy the time you spend making it. But it's actually pretty rare that I have the hottest experiences while filming. It takes a lot for anyone to stay connected to their body while also performing on camera. There's a lot of pressure and can be a real challenge to have sex on cue. I love performing. I'm an exhibitionist. I've always understood that performing comes from that rush of excitement you get by being watched or from creating something that looks beautiful on film. I enjoy the whole process. But the reason it's hard to have truly hot experiences is that a lot of guys don't know how to let go. There's so much focus on looking perfect that we can lose the passion and eroticism if we're in our heads, worried about how we look, instead of actually connecting with our scene partners. And that's fine if the goal is just to make something that looks a certain way. But that's not always what real sex feels like. I just wish more guys understood that good sex is about feeling something, not looking a certain way. If you're comparing yourself to what you see in porn or trying to replicate it, you might be missing what you actually want. Especially if what you want is sex that feels real, where you feel desired, respected, and pleasured. The more capacity you have for all of your emotions, the more comfortable you'll be with sex. In this episode, I chat with Daniel, also a porn performer, about the reality of shooting and what it's like to not fit neatly into a box as men who are emotional or don't always fit what other gay men find comfortable. This is Mask Off for Mask, and I'm Vance. Hey, Daniel. How's it going?
Hey, good. How about you?
Good. This is the first time we finally got a chance to talk after a long time on social media
Years of
talking.
texting.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you for doing this and coming on and talking to me.
I really appreciate you having me here. And we would have actually, this is the first time we're seeing each other's faces like in the first person.
Yeah, it's funny how when you just talk to someone online or texting and see Instagram and all this stuff and you have this idea of what someone is like, right? And when you actually talk to them, you're like, oh wow. Or you might be like, well, I didn't expect that, but you wouldn't know, right? Even as people who make porn, right? The persona that I've thought about this, what people think about me off of just looking at my Instagram page, let's say. I'm like, they have no idea who I am. Who I really am as a person. I'm like, so everyone is going to make these judgments and all that shit, right, about me without understanding who I am. And so I think we all kind of do that, especially even being in porn, right? Getting judgments or the way that people
Everyone
think about
has an
us.
opinion.
Yeah.
Everyone has an opinion. I read comments and people on Twitter, on Instagram, and even on those those porn websites that have the OnlyFans videos that they pirate off. Those sites, the comments on those sites as well. I'm like, everyone's a fucking critic, dude. I don't know. I'm like, why are you being so judgmental, dude? Someone made a video and it's a very human, natural thing to do, the act itself. And it's very subjective, I feel, for the people who are involved in that act. And you're just viewing it. And why are you making judgments about it? Yeah, if you're saying, yeah, the angle could have been better, that's always good feedback. But then there are weird comments. I'm trying to think of one right now. Yeah, there was a video, not mine, but someone else's, where the top or the bottom's face was not shown. So they deliberately edited it out. No blurring, just cutting it out. And people had, no, it's not going to, this doesn't work. It doesn't work this way. I'm like, why are you so judgmental about someone not wanting to show their face? It's not a big deal. But yeah, everyone's a critic.
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting is to think about because even myself, before I started doing porn, I've always thought about this, how before I made porn, I had these assumptions and ideas of what it was like to make porn. And I was also always a fan of porn. And I love 70s, 80s porn. I love the aesthetic of it. And I love the art of porn. And so when I started to make porn and recognize that it was oh, it's not, a lot of times it's, you don't see the parts where, someone gets into their head and you need to take a 15-minute break, or you can't get hard, or whatever the thing is, that it's oh, you cut all that stuff out. So it's not just two people or however many showing up super horny and just fucking like crazy, and it's like that's the
Yeah.
job. It's like no, a lot of times it's like connecting and it's vulnerable, and especially if you're doing like a studio shoot, it's like there's like a bunch of people watching that makes it harder.
And then I've never done studio shoots myself. I don't know if you have, but I've never done myself. But from what I've heard, it's also really interesting because you'll be in the act and they'll say, "Stop, we got to take photos," and then you'll have to pause and that you hold that one position and take photos, and then you continue. It's quite a it's I've heard it's quite challenging. It takes multiple hours. On the other hand, I feel OnlyFans and Just for Fans has kind of liberalized the porn world, so a lot of people can now make porn, and that's better for other people. So for example, I don't usually like studio porn because I
Yeah.
feel it's very mechanical and it's not really 100% authentic, not because I know the insides of it, because it feels kind of inauthentic a lot of times. So I don't usually like, and the entire storyline that goes into it just seems a little cheesy to me. There's like they've been, like the you're fucking your daughter's fiance or something. It just seemed like it seems a little cheesy to me and cliched. So I don't
Well,
really
either.
enjoy that aspect. I like the connection aspect.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's like I won't name the studio, but like there's one studio who does this like every like plot line is so like campy, and I can tell that like they're meaning it to try to be like comedic maybe or something, but like I'm like, does anyone have this fantasy of they're making a salad and getting fucked by the person behind them while their sister is sitting in front of them? I was like very like, are we just like throwing the most random crazy shit out there to like film?
I know. I just saw one video the other day. The video was hot. Don't get me wrong. It was hot. It was like, I think it was two boyfriends. It was two boyfriends, and one of the boyfriends was actually doing work in the kitchen while the other guy was getting sucked off under the counter and then fucked as I don't know, like weird stuff. I'm like, there's no way this guy doesn't realize that this is happening.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it was
yeah.
hot. Don't get me wrong, it was hot, but it was a very like, unrealistic scenario.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, so I haven't done. I mean, I've done one studio shoot with Himros, like Davey Wavy. Do you
They're
know
really good. Yeah,
that?
yeah, that's
So
really
that
good. Yeah,
was, yeah. So that was different. That was like we actually
I
took,
like them.
I
They're
think,
really good.
yeah, real fantasies and kind of, and it felt like I was making a movie. Like we really had to perform, and so we wouldn't stop and take photos. It was kind of, here's the storyline or whatever we're doing, and this is the energy we want to bring to the scene. So we would like rehearse it before we shot it, and then or like different ways of like touching or being together, and then we kind of just were able to do it. And the only times we would stop is if us as the performers were like, I need a minute, can I'm in my head. And the like the director, the DOP, and whole film crew were so awesome. They were like, "Do you need a minute? We'll just like leave the room for a second." And they would leave the room, and like just it was awesome. I always say it was like one of the best experiences because everyone was so like kind and made everyone feel safe. So we were able to like explore. It was just yeah, that's like the type of porn I want to make now. Is like
They're
being
good. That's I like their porn. Like they're because again, it seems authentic, it seems natural, and then the aesthetic part that you're talking about, the 70s,
mhm,
80s kind of they kind of follow that, and I really like that. Sorry, give me one sec. I have a
yeah.
what's up, CJ? If you see my birds around or chirping, please don't mind.
Yeah, I think I've seen your birds on Twitter or X or
Yeah.
whatever. How many
So I
birds do you
hope you
have?
don't mind. I have two cockatiels. I don't know if you see one's in the cage. I don't know if you can see her there, and the
I
other
can see the
one
cage. Yeah.
wants to play. So he's like tapping on the floor to get my
Really?
attention.
Did you used to have like birds when you were growing up?
Yeah, not like consistently, but my grandmother had a pet parrot,
Hmm.
and yeah, and then we used to have like what they called parakeets or something like that.
Okay.
I forget the name. Conures, I think that's what they're called. We used to have some
Huh.
of those, but not really consistent. But these guys, like, they live for 15 years in the wild and even longer in
Yeah.
captivity. So I have them for life, and I don't mind. They're like my babies.
Oh,
They're
that's cute.
honestly speaking the biggest support that I've ever had. Like I go to work and I'm like,
Oh,
when will I go back and see them? When will I go back and see them?
yeah.
But yeah, they're my cute little babies.
Oh, that's so cute. I know. I love animals. I think they're just the best. But back to porn. But I was gonna ask you, how did you get into porn? Like, how did you start doing it, or why did you start it?
Well, so just I'd been I mean, I've been a consumer of porn for forever,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
since I remember, and I kind of got a little bit of exposure to OnlyFans with my ex because he used to do those what's that called, like chatterbait kind of live
Oh, yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
He used to do that, and he made I mean, he was fucking hot. Like he used to make a lot of money off of that, and but then he stopped doing it, and I didn't know about it until much later in a relationship that he was doing. He used to do it, and then we started. At that point we started to open things up and want to explore different stuff. We started doing OnlyFans separately, not together. OnlyFans or Chat, one of the two, something was yeah. But I did have an OnlyFans. I remember that it was solo. I shut it down, and then was it September 2022? I got laid off. I remember it was September 1st, 2022. I got laid off for this second or third time in a year and a half, and I was like, why am I in this situation again? And the
Mhm.
same night, I registered for OnlyFans, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start. So I had a few videos that I had solo videos. I started uploading those, and then a couple of months later, I started doing collabs, and that's how I kind of ended up in doing that. And then, which is a good thing because I always had backup. I mean, it wasn't doing that great. Like I've always had something to fall back on. And then I started this job, and there wasn't much income from it. It was just pretty minimal. I started this job, which was more secure and paid well, but I was like, "There's no security in jobs," as I've learned. I got laid off.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, I got laid off another time after that. So in 2 years, I got laid off 4 times.
Oh, wow.
With this job, I was more secure, but then I was like, you never know. I had to move. So I'm like, you never know. This might fail as well. So I kept on doing it. And then something kicked in. I'm like, if I'm doing it, I want to do it well. Uh, I want to be good at it. I don't want to have just done it and not ach I don't know, achieve anything is if that's the right way of saying it.
Can I
So
ask
yeah,
you, so like
go
before
ahead.
you even started all of this, or even before you started get like really serious with it, did you have any like, were you just like a total exhibitionist and was like, I love this, or were you like, oh, I don't know if I should do this, like what do people find out, or all that shit?
I am not an exhibitionist at
Okay.
all. Like,
Or-
I am a very, vanilla person.
okay.
I'm a very vanilla person. I'm not really into exhibitionism. Like, if someone asks me to have sex in public, I would not be able to. Like, I just wouldn't be able to.
Well, I'd say it's funny. I had this, just sorry, but I had this experience the other day about that. Is like, I'm an exhibitionist as well, but I don't, or I mean, I'm an exhibitionist, but my thing is like, I can't have sex in public if there's a chance of getting caught by people I don't want to get caught by. Like,
Mhm.
I will be too, oh my God, are we like, someone gonna call the cops on us? Like, all that shit. But like, if I'm at like Hanlon's, like the gay beach in Toronto, like something like that, where I'm like, doesn't matter if people see us, then I like it. Like, porn, I like it because there's kind of a consent if people are like choosing to see it. But I can't just be like, let's have sex under this bridge. Like, have people walking above us. So I was like, we're going to get arrested.
A lot of people do that, I'm on the same page with you. Like it's there are two things for me. One is obviously being able to feel safe, and well, part of that is, so I think, yes, this is like the frame of mind. Like if you're in the right frame of mind, you will feel safe, and compared to other times when you don't really feel safe with the other person. And Hanlon's point, I've done that too. Like I mean, I've had sex in the bushes, like not a lot of times, but a couple of times. Uh, and it's fun and it's intriguing, but obviously got to be in the right frame of mind, and you got to be with the right person, right? And again, like with porn as well, I mean, there is a certain level of exhibitionism that exists, but it's still within a safety zone, I guess. So it makes sense. I did, until a few months ago, I was really driven to want to do like live sex show, like in front of a crowd. And I was supposed to, I think it was, yeah, I was supposed to perform at Steamworks during Pride. But that didn't happen. So I dropped. I didn't do that, and now I don't feel like I'm like in the mood to do it anyway. But I don't feel like I'm quite there yet. Like my content manager, he was asking me, he's like, "Do you want to do a sex show?" I said, no, I still gotta think about it. So there are times when, and there are aspects of me that would lean to it, but it depends on the frame of mind, on how you're
Yeah.
feeling, what's going on in your life, all of that stuff. I guess I get what you're saying. It's contextual. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. It's funny. I've always like I think I could do like a live sex show, but I think that I mean a lot of times like what you're talking about like at Steamworks or it's like a circuit party live sex show and that's kind of a lot of porn guys that will do that type of sex show. But I've always wanted to do like more of like a performance art piece that's like meant to be more like intimate and
Hmm.
sensual. Like that's even like as I'm trying to make more porn for OnlyFans right now, I'm like that's my thing is like my kink is romance, but it's like I like romance. I like feeling things. I like cuddling. I like soft, gentle guys that I can like. Doesn't mean that the sex can't be intense and like
Yeah.
physically aggressive, but it's like I like something that's a bit more intimate. Like I'm more of a demisexual. And so that's kind of I'm like, okay, well, shooting with other guys, I want to make sure that like, hey, I feel safe with this guy and I'm actually attracted to who he is. He's a nice guy and like I feel really comfortable with him. And so I want to have sex like that because I'm not the type of person that goes into a not like I don't really like Steamworks because I'm like I don't really like
Hmm.
having sex with people I can't like talk to first or be like, oh wow, this guy's really sweet or whatever. Like I'm
You
like I'm
can't
not.
connect with other than just being sexually connected. Like you obviously you can be sexually attracted to someone, but then the other attraction. Like there's, I understand what you're saying, but there's so many hot guys on OnlyFans. Like it's become such a big thing. Like on Twitter as well. You look all there's so many hot guys, but I'm like, do I like the kind of work that like I don't want to. I just don't want to have I want to have a good experience when I'm filming because I feel it
Mm,
shows on camera, and I completely understand what you're saying about the kind of sensual and connection aspect of it. It makes it look more authentic on screen, and it's also a good experience for you as a scene partner. You don't want to be leaving a scene and saying, "Hey, I didn't this didn't come out right." And by that time, obviously you've shot, and then you gotta put it up, right? And it's not your best work. I've done so many of those. One of the things that I do, and
yeah.
this is like a little bit of a trade secret of mine, but one of the things that I do is like I'm like, okay, I'm going into this scene. The only way I can hope to connect is make myself feel like I don't I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but like I'd say, hey, I'm gonna go into the scene. I'm gonna make myself feel like I'm in love with this person. So which makes like the feelings come with it, like the non-sexual aspects, and then it's a lot of fun. It's really nice. But the connection does need to be there. I get it. Like I
Yeah.
understand where you're
Well,
coming from.
see, like, it's so funny that you say that because I have this whole thing where I say, like everyone talks about like performance anxiety, like just not even with porn, like just having sex in real
Hmm.
life. But like everyone talks like performance anxiety. But I'm like, even when it comes to porn, like this performance piece, I'm like, okay, I get that you're like the performance is kind of like shame of I'm not good enough and I have to look and act this certain way. And like that's what they mean by performance anxiety. But I'm like, but if you're a performer, like if you're an actor in a film, like shooting a love scene, if you're fucking Emma Stone or whatever,
Yeah.
like she's not going, oh, I need to put my tits out and I need to like make sure my ass looks perfect. She's actually like, as an actor, you feel something. So, like what you said is, I'm going to be in my head that I love this person and try to like connect to that feeling that I know what that feels like to be in love with someone and
Hmm.
bring that into the scene. So that's my thing about like performance. I was like, okay, well, if you're gonna perform, then fucking perform and like perform like you're feeling it, right? Like you have
Yeah.
to have like the internal feelings, or else you're just like moving in a certain way to look like something that you've seen before, instead of being like, what is the thing that I can like dig inside myself where I feel this like connection, and if I'm not into this person, and as long as they make me feel safe, I can be like, okay, well, I got to perform for the scene, so I'm going to act like I
Safety is
love you.
important.
Yeah.
Safety is important because you when I mean, as much as one would like to think sex is still quite an intimate action, and so being but I know for a lot of gay guys it's not the same because everyone just needs a need fulfilled, and but that's not really for me. If I'm horny, I'm gonna jerk off and I'm done. Like that's
Yeah.
good enough for me. I
Yeah.
I don't need to have that fulfilled by another person. That's why when I go into the scene, I want to make sure that I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun because first of all, like I'm not doing this for sexual pleasure. Specifically, I mean, yeah, it's there, but you know, I can get sexual pleasure in other ways too. This is about the intimacy. This is about the connection. This is something like I'm not there's it's not goal oriented that I want you know the goal is to come. That's not
Yeah,
my
yeah.
you enjoy the experience. If you come, you come. It's great. If you don't, that doesn't diminish the experience. Like a lot of guys that I've romantically, non-romantically, camera off camera, um for them it's like about coming. Like, oh no, that's not my goal. I don't know why people are always on that. I had this one guy who was like made me feel so bad. He's like, "Oh, you gotta come on camera, otherwise it's not gonna work for you. Like, you're not gonna make it big if you don't come on camera. You gotta come on camera." And I'm like, it's so difficult for me to do that, like on demand. Like, it's not easy. For I need to feel safe. I need to be, completely in a situation where I feel turned on and safe and secure to be able to come. That and that doesn't happen all the time. Don't
Yeah,
get me wrong. There
totally.
have been times when I've come without those available, but most of the times I want to enjoy the experience. I don't want it's not a race for me.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, and you don't need to come. It's funny, even when I have like been looking for like scene partners and stuff. I've This has come up a few times where it's like, are you top or a bottom? And I'll be like I'm more of a bottom. I'm kind of a crappy top because I come really fast if I top. But I was like, I can do it sometimes. But I've said to guys, and I've had this come up where I've been like, but if like if it doesn't work out that day, like we'll just do other things. Like we don't have to have penetrative sex. And like I've had guys be like, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, really? Like you don't know how to like just kind of connect or like even like frauding? Like we just rub against each other. We can like do oral. There's
Yeah,
so
there's
many
so
other
much
things.
stuff to do. I'm
We can
shocked. Like,
role
so
play. And so I think
I
it's funny. Sorry, I was just saying before I go too far that whatever this guy that said like you need to come. Like I think one of the things about this job is that I'm like I wish we would kind of start being a little bit more real with like we don't have to like if I was your scene partner and you didn't feel like coming, I'd be like that's fine, you don't do that and we'll still show that. And like if all we're doing is keeping this standard of like everyone comes every time, everyone is rock hard the entire time because people are using Trimax or Viagra, which is fine. But like if it was like the standard is so unrealistic, we're going so far away from like pleasure focused sex to like something that's really fake that like wasn't even the feeling or the energy of the scene that happened because someone was trying
yeah.
to shame you for not coming.
Yeah, I know. I get it completely. The I think for most people, I think porn doesn't really need to. You and I are looking at porn as art, as self expression, but a lot of people don't look at it that way. And then also there are some very basic human I'd say traits. So, for example, one of my exes, when I was talking to him, he's like, "Oh, you'll come if I come." I'm like, "No, it's not going to work that way." He's like, "No, that's how it works with everyone." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It's hard to see someone come, and that does usually, it's human nature. Like I feel like our brains have kind of evolved in a way when the partner comes, then it's attractive to you, so maybe it will help you come. I mean, yeah, it's attractive, but it's not going to necessarily make me come. It could, but it doesn't necessarily want to make me come. So I get the human aspect where people want to see, it was so hot they came, that kind of stuff. But for me, coming is not a measure of how much you were enjoying the scene or how good it was, how much pleasure you were experiencing. I mean, coming is just like something that can happen as an outcome. It's not necessarily like the goal or objective for me
Hmm.
when I'm filming. So I understand what you're saying, but people want to see that. I mean, I've seen videos that are honestly just an ass and a dick. There are no faces. There's no nothing else. It's people are just like shooting like this. I mean, this does nothing for me. This
Hmm.
does
I
nothing for
know,
me.
that's
I
me
need to see
too.
your facial expression. I need
No,
to
me
see the
too.
rest of your body. I mean, yes, there's a place for close-ups and I like those, but I need to. It's not just that you can't just have that one thing and be done. But there are a lot of people who like that and who want to see just that. They don't care about the face. They don't care about the body. They just want to look at. They don't care about the connection. They just want to see a dick and sorry if I'm being very explicit, but they
No,
just want to see
it's
that.
a place to be at.
Uh, they just want to see that and that and someone's got it's very simple for them. But for you and I, like people like you and I, it's more like, hey, we're looking at the art, the expression. Like that's
Mhm.
what drives us. That's what gives us energy and gives us the entices us. So I get what you're saying on that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm kind of curious about so your sexuality and what was your because you're so you're a very I can tell you're like an emotional person who's you're a really sweet guy. But what
Thank you.
did uh how did you discover like your sexuality and like even your sensitivity? I like all this stuff because you say right like you've been with women and you men, so like are you pansexual, bisexual? What was that journey of figuring it out?
Well, for so I grew up in a kind of society where obviously there weren't gays that were like there weren't openly people who were gay like but I had gay friends who were openly gay but not like how do I put it? I wasn't part of a I didn't view gay culture. I didn't have like anyone any kind of role model who was gay. I didn't even kind of realize it. I thought this was the only way to kind of proceed was you know you find someone, you hook up with them, you get married, you have kids, you have and you know that standard kind of spiel that was given to us growing up. Uh, Job, family, career, you know, those kinds of things, money, that's pretty much it. Uh, but obviously it might have worked in a different time and it might have worked for most people, but it kind of didn't work. It doesn't work for others. And I was one of them. I was married. I was actually dating for a girl for 8 years, then got married, and then we were together for another 8 years. We have two kids. I think around 2014, I started realizing like that something wasn't right. That I just
Did
didn't
you sorry,
feel.
did you know when you were in that relationship that you were attracted to men?
Yes, I did. I did know, but it wasn't. It's a very weird kind of. People always ask me these questions, and I don't know how to really answer them because I was just going with the best kind of information that the best kind of outcome from the information that I had or the exposure that I had. And for me, I used to watch gay porn exclusively, even when I was like, you know, when I was younger. And I think what kind of triggered it was social media. I started posting shirtless photos on Instagram when Instagram first started off, and I started getting a lot of attention from guys because guys. So yeah, that kind of made me realize, oh, so maybe you know this is something. And then so I kind of realized I'm like, maybe I am gay and I need to, you know, start to explore this side. Anyway, we went through the whole lot of coming out and all the drama that goes with it. Then I moved to Canada, and Canada was kind of like my first exposure. Well, California was my first kind of big exposure, but Canada was mostly start dating someone. There's, you know, understanding the ins and outs of gay life and gay culture as much as I can. And then started realizing that while the I'm more attracted sexually to men than women. I started realizing the sexual attraction is there, but then the emotional connection is something that you don't get with a lot of men because a lot of men aren't that.
Emotional, in touch with their
Yeah,
feelings?
I don't in touch with their feelings, or they avoid it, or they just think it's too much
Yeah.
work, or they can't. And one of the biggest problems I feel is not about them not being emotional or anything; it's the inability and unwillingness to communicate.
Mhm.
People don't, and they don't have the introspection to understand, hey, this is what I'm feeling right now, uh, and this is how I can express it to another person. And it's not just all about me, it's about relationship, it's about the two of us if you're in a relationship. But the communication aspect I feel gets lost a lot. Slowly
I
starting
think
to kind of realize.
sorry, I just
Yeah.
want to say that it's I was just talking to a friend yesterday who's a therapist, and we were talking about this, and it's like I don't think it's like yes, part of it is communication, but I think a lot of it is like men are so shamed to feel their feelings that like they're so disconnected from
Mm.
even being able to say, why am I being avoidant? Why am I feeling uncomfortable in this situation? Like men don't learn that skill of just being like, oh, oh, that really hurt my feelings. I wonder why. And like, that just really pissed me off that you did that. Or whatever. It's like, it just, they've learned to just shut it down. A lot of people have,
Mhm.
but societally, right? Men have just learned to shut things down and not have the skill of being able to even be self aware. Yeah.
100%. You're absolutely right. I mean, obviously, our social norms, even, I mean, I'll give you like, me growing up, like, I was always uh, mocked by other boys for being too effeminate. One guy even said, "Hey, you got to man up your voice," and I'm like,
Mm.
so
When you were a kid?
when I was in high school,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, that's. I mean, it was hurtful, but you internalize all this, right? And then being bullied as well, feeling like you're kind of alone in that situation. I mean, those all have an impact on you growing up, and men aren't that great at communicating anyway, right? So anyway, getting back to the pansexuality question. So the emotional aspect was obviously missing. I didn't kind of realize it. Slowly, I started realizing it, and I realized that while I am attracted to a certain type of to men, and especially a certain type, like physically
Hmm.
appearing men. There are other aspects that also contribute to sexual attraction, which I'm not
Yeah.
tapping into. So there's a mental and emotional aspect to it as well, right? You can't that contribute to sexual attraction. There've been so many times I just mentioned there's so many guys who are super hot, but when you actually get down to filming with them or being with them, you're like, this is very mechanical. Either you're not that good or our connection isn't that good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that I'm good and you're not, but I'm just saying like for me, it's not from my perspective. That's what I kind of see. So anyway, so started like kind of exploring all. I realized I was more pansexual. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the person actually looks like. I mean, obviously, it's the initial thing does exist, but then if I'm really in love with the person, I have emotional feelings for that person, then the sex is great. Like my last girlfriend, like I used to say, this is the best sex I've ever had," and I was like, if sex can actually be this good, I can understand why people get addicted to it. um,
Yeah.
so it doesn't really. So it's not. Even though I'm physically and sexually attracted more to men, I will exclusively watch gay porn. But my best sexual experience was with someone who did not fit that bill at all. So kind of like that's been kind of like an evolution trying to understand. The biggest thing that I've understood in this entire scenario is that we've made up too many boxes and labels,
Yeah.
and you try to fit everyone into those categories, which is not necessarily the best thing to do because not everyone falls into the same category because human beings are complex.
Yeah.
There's such different kind of aspects to each one. Like I can be uh, I mean, I no one where I live knows that I do well. Some people do know that I do porn, but not everyone does. And I'm sure like when people find out, they'll be like, "How is he doing that? Like, what's the kind of just because it breaks the box for them, right? It breaks the mold. So
And
I mean,
yeah.
that's it. Just be you. That's all I'll say. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Just be you. Doesn't matter which box you fit in. Just be you. You fucking only. Sorry, pardon my French, but that's my favorite word. So
It's okay. Yeah. You can go ahead.
I mean, you only have one life to live. You only have one, life where you can enjoy. You can either spend it enjoying yourself or you can be miserable. I have seen so many people who have been through so much trauma in their lives but still smile at the end of the day, right? And they're jovial and they're communicative and you're like that's the thing, right? They could have either buckled under the stress and just lived miserably, but they choose not to because no matter what happens, they have no control over the stressor. Also, time will pass whether they are miserable during it or happy during it. Would you not rather choose to
Hmm.
be happy during that time? I mean, obviously, it's not as simple as I'm saying, putting it out to be, but that's how I feel like people need to chill the fuck out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's like with the boxes thing and identity is I think a lot of times if you put yourself in one of these boxes, then some people will like that becomes their identity and also other people will see them as that. And so everything kind of you have to stay in this box. Like one of the things that I'm learning right now is like I've never even when like people start talking about being non-binary a lot more making it more common, I was like I don't think that's me and I don't think that's like, the because I, didn't have that language when I was a kid. So maybe if I was a kid, I might be like, oh, I feel that way. But then I started to be like, well, don't even think about like you have to put yourself either in the box of man, woman, or non binary and be like,
Non-binary. Yeah.
but you're on this spectrum of like understanding, like, it's like when we talk about this feeling piece, is like, yeah, I feel like a man and externally I feel like a man, but like internally, I've said this a lot in the last like year. I'm like, I feel like a 46-year-old woman for some reason, but it's because like I relate more to older women. I have a lot of empathy. I love having like
I'm
deep
sorry, I'm going to pause you.
discussion.
You just said 46-year-old was like older women. I mean, I'm 45, 44. So I mean, like, it's like,
I don't think I said
just
old. I
kidding.
said older women. Older than me, I
Older.
should say. Older than me. Yeah. But it's like Julia Louis Dreyfus has this podcast
Mm,
called Wiser Than Me, and she talks to these
mm,
old women, and they are actually like in their 80s and 90s. A lot of these women. And so I don't feel that old. But like there's a part of me that feels like, oh, I've had this, like even when I was a kid, like before I got bullied for being gay, before anyone knew what that was as kids, like I was always called a girl because I hung out with girls. I did the girl stuff that they did.
same.
Yeah, like that was until they were like, "Oh no, you're just a faggot." Then they figured that out. But like being called a woman, and so like what I've had to learn is like I've been kind of shamed and bullied out of thinking that like my feminine side is important, and especially even like other gay men. I feel like sometimes like that's why like having this conversation with you and like talking to like seeing you just make porn or like seeing your video clips and then being like, wow, he's really sensitive and emotional. I didn't realize that. And it was like a part of me, like, even with porn, is like, I feel like that's not going to be sellable. Like, people don't want to see vulnerability, which is more of like seen as like the feminine trait, and men can't do that. But I've been
Mm.
learning that I'm like, my vulnerability and being in touch with my femininity actually makes my life better and makes me feel like I can ride the waves of my life, feel my feelings, get through things, connect more with people on like a deeper level. And so I'm like, it's a gift to have this. And surprising, like I'm curious for you, like even being pansexual or like fluid with all this stuff that like as doing porn. I don't know how many people who watch your porn know about all this of you, but like I know I saw you do a video like last week or whenever that was about talking about how you got like hateful comments for saying that you were with a woman. And like, do people in the community treat you differently knowing that you don't fit into this box of like gay man?
First, let's address the femininity issue. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really like how you put it, like the fact that your feminine side makes you able to connect better with other people. Don't I feel like these, again, this is also a label that we put on, like that this is a feminine trait and not a masculine trait. When you talk about the greatest diplomats in history, how did they get where they needed to get, like leaders and diplomats? Like they had to connect with people. So I don't think it's necessarily a feminine trait, but our society has labeled it as being feminine, and they judge it for that. So I mean, I'm sorry you had to go through the bullying and all of that, because I've gone through it, so I understand. It's traumatic. It affects you your entire freaking life. And a lot of times I feel like I wish those people knew the kind of impact that they had on the actions that they, and I wonder, are they still like that today? Like I look at, sorry, I'm going to make this political, but look at people like Pierre Poilievre, all the, the freaking nut bags in south of the
Yeah,
border.
yeah, yeah.
You're like, they're fucking bullies. That's what they are. They're not compassionate. They're downright judgmental. They constantly beat up on the less privileged people. You are nothing but a bully. That's what you are. And having experienced bullying from like the other side, I know the kind of impacts that they have, and I would never in my right mind ever support someone who bullies. If you want something done, you can get it done nicely. You can ask questions, you can try to convince someone, but you have to understand that in this day and age, we're all human beings, and we being human beings puts us all on the same footing, irrespective of how much you've accomplished during your life. That standard should exist for everyone. I think that's what people forget. Just because you're a
Yeah.
different color or you don't have enough money, you will be considered less worthy. And I feel like all of that comes back to like the entire capitalist system that's set up by, mostly it's backed by the US, but it's the entire system that we do.
And isn't I'll just say about the bully, but don't you think that these people though it becomes the reason why they bully people is the system that we're in where like even these guys that were calling us girls when we were little, like the reason why they did that is because it made them uncomfortable to see us like being like doing girl things and they're like you're not supposed to do that like I can't do that when
Mhm.
like the things is like what was I doing? I was like playing house and I was like yeah everyone fucking lives in a house like we're all like what was I pretending to cook? And like that made me a girl because like you were like, oh, that gender role. And as even
Wait
as
till they become
kids,
adults. Like you'll have to be
yeah,
cooking for yourself.
yeah. And so I think that's the thing is what we like what people have to understand is like all of this we're all on the spectrum of like everyone has feminine masculine traits or sexualities on a spectrum and stuff and then like a lot of the hate comes from this like own inner I have shame about being emotional or I have shame about I don't know doing porn or whatever and so or being sexual and so like it is easier to hate you instead of like learn to understand you and learn to understand what is going on in myself that's making me feel uncomfortable about that.
Well, yeah, because people don't look inwards.
Yeah.
It's always like they look outwards and then, they because it makes them uncomfortable. If you, sorry, for example, if you're playing house is making them feel uncomfortable, they don't introspect and say, "Hey, why is this making me uncomfortable?" Like they don't ask that
Hmm.
question. They question you and your actions, which I don't think is the right way to do it. But second point that you were talking about before we kind
Yeah.
of went on a little bit of a tangent
Yeah.
was about like me not fitting into that box. I've had like both reactions. Like there are guys who when they found out that I was dating a woman found me even more attractive, but then on the other hand, like I haven't face to face, I haven't really heard about it. Like from on social media, I've seen people like reacting really badly. There was forget his name. There was this one porn star who, excuse me, who shot a threesome video with a woman, and the comments on his Instagram, oh my God, were so bad. I remember I was like, I want to start shooting some bi or straight scenes as well.
Yeah.
And one of the guys in LA cameraman, he was like, "Don't do that because guys won't like that." I'm like, "What the hell? Why is everyone so judgment?" I mean, one of my friends who's a porn actor as well. He does buy scenes, but he doesn't post them on his OnlyFans page. He contacts people whom he knows are interested in seeing his bisexual because he posted one and then people got really upset. But the people who did buy that video, he reaches out to them and sends them the video separately. So it's just a weird kind of thing. Like I mean, you guys have gone so far on the other side that you're like
Well,
you've
what do you
come back like being like unacceptable.
Well, what do you think that is? Like I've noticed this too where I've been around gay men who like don't like going to events if there's like women there. So like I've gone to things where for me I'm like I always feel like I love going to like a rave or something where it's like all genders, all sexualities and it's really diverse and I was like this is my favorite type of crowd to be around. But then it's like I know gay men that are just like, oh, they don't want to be around like other straight people or women and so, like, the idea, like, if I was watching you in a scene and I was like, I love your gay porn, but then saw a scene of you having sex with a woman, I might be like, oh, that's not for me. But I wouldn't have like
A
I
negative
need to
opinion of
shame.
me.
Yeah. So, what do you think is like, is it misogyny?
Society in boxes. I think like we
Yeah.
just don't fit into that box. So people find it odd. And I mean, I get if it's something that doesn't turn you on or it doesn't do anything for you, well and good. You don't have to go out and shame people. Like if someone doesn't fit into your box, you don't have to go and shame them. And that's I feel like isn't that what the freedom of expression and all is about? Like you should be able. Why are you constantly shaming people for being who they are? And stepping on their right to express themselves freely. So I mean, I think it's about the boxes. I will say though, I do understand sometimes where those guys are coming from. So for example, gay men are generally very sexual. Like if they go to a rave, they want to do sexual stuff, and they probably don't feel as comfortable doing that in front of women or people who are not used to that. So but I mean, so they will avoid those venues. The other thing I feel like there is kind of a nuance here, and again, this is just my opinion. So Woody's in Toronto, like I would go there very frequently. Loved that bar. What started happening was that I started to see a lot of like gay tourism, like a lot of these like women
Yeah.
doing their bachelorette parties, and that upset me on the level that I'm like, listen, and we had to wait outside in line to get in while these women were taking. I'm like, you have other spaces you can go and be yourself.
Mm, yeah.
This is for us, and you're taking up space that could be, utilized. So that's my only perception. I mean, I think, and I also feel like the kind of like the tourism aspect. Like, oh, they're coming here and they want to, you know, uh, they want to feel safe, and I get that those are aspects, but then you also have to realize that gay or queer people have very few spaces they can actually be themselves in. And when a straight woman and her bunch of like friends are coming in to celebrate like a bachelorette party, and just being, I feel like it's just I forget, I can't come up with the word right
Yeah,
now, but
it's like going to a bar like it's a zoo or something. Like, oh, this is
yeah.
like some carnival thing. So we're gonna go to the gay bar and watch drag
Oh my
queens.
god, to watch the carnies.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's why, because I think, yes, for sure, like a place like Woody's or in the Village in Toronto or any village, it's like, yeah, these are like queer spaces and they're like obvious queer spaces. And I think one of the things is like in Toronto, like the West End has become super queer. And I think that the
Yeah.
changing thing about it is that it's not like this bar is queer, but it's not a queer, like it's not like they put up a sign that's like queer friendly. It's just all of a sudden the vibe and like this is where I think like we're getting more comfortable with like fluidity with gender and sexuality that like those spaces. That's why I always say about like raves, even like big festivals like Electric Island or Veld and all that stuff that I'm like there kind of is like a adjacent queerness to like that kind of stuff. It's like people are all getting dressed up in costumes like they do at Pride and like listening to electronic music, and usually like music festivals and stuff have this vibe of like everyone loves each other and everyone's there to like enjoy the
Yes.
music. And so what I want for people is like I don't mind like a couple straight girls going to a gay bar, but I'm like I want you to be like then that's your community as well. Like those are your friends that are there. You're going to like you're friends with the drag queen. You're going there to support her, or your friends are going out there too, so you're going with them. That I'm like if you're a part of that community, that's okay. But it's like the bachelorette party thing is like feels just like it's a that gay bars are this, yeah, like I said, like this circus
Yeah,
thing or something.
circus thing that they want to go. But the other thing that happened, and the reason, like I kind of suspected that a couple of guys I saw at Woody's didn't seem gay, but they were. I'm like a lot of, like I shouldn't make generalizations because they might be reserved and might be I'm just coming out or might be on the DL, but I saw once this woman actually came to our group and she's like, "Oh, that guy's hitting on me and he's not he's being,
Hmm.
so can I just like hang out with you guys?" So she hung out. So what started happening now is that straight men have started following the women into gay bars. And then what the point is that it no longer remains a safe space then, right? And you're going through the
Hmm.
same kind of thing.
Yeah.
I unfortunately, like I've stopped going to Church Street, period. I feel like people have become. I was sexually harassed at Black Eagle, like I mean, by a group of
Yeah.
guys who were like they were kind of bullying me, and I was like, that's like that's really odd. Again, there's factors over there that I don't want to get into, but that kind of that kind of like the community is no longer the same safe space that I kind of felt it was.
Yeah.
But that's just my experience and my impression. I mean, others might feel very
Yeah.
differently about it.
Well, I think that it's like because I feel the same way too. Of like if I walk into or if I go to a party at the Eagle or something, like, and I can have fun, but I'm hyper aware of because like I don't want to be touched and groped by someone I don't want to be touched and groped by, and that's just me. And I have this theory that I think that gay men think that. Like I've been like I always say I don't always tell the story, but there was one time I was working for a guy who was sexually harassing me, and I kind of was like, well, I guess I'll do it. And I didn't really like it didn't affect me in a big way, but I remember thinking like if I was a woman, if I was a 23-year-old woman working for this 45-year-old man who was doing what he was doing to me, it would be obvious that it was sexual
Mm,
harassment. But
mm,
because we're both men, I think there was and being young, I think I thought we're on equal we're both men, so like the power dynamic isn't shifted, even though it was because he was my employer. But there's this idea that, like, oh, it's okay because you're a gay man. You must want this. You must be okay with
Mhm.
sex and being groped and touched, and that's all okay. When I'm like, no, that's not okay. You don't know what anyone's boundaries are or what they feel they want done to their body. And I think that there's a lack of awareness with gay men that
Yeah,
understands,
because
oh,
I feel
right,
like
you
everything.
can't just touch someone you don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, and I've had good experience. I went to Black Eagle in one of their either one of their jockstrap parties, or it was like the completely clothing optional. Well, actually, clothing free party. I did not have sex with anyone, and I was completely naked. Guys would come up to me, and I would be like, "Sorry, I'm just here observing. I'm not participating," because as I just mentioned, that's not really my thing. I just wanted to try it out, and I always try out things just to experience it once, right? You
Yeah,
got to
yeah.
try it out. How do you know if you don't try it out whether you like it or not? So there's that, and then on the other hand, same in the Black Eagle, like when it was like a regular night, I go there and this guy's I was dressed in a tank top and jeans, and the guy comes up to me, he's like we like and pointed to his friends. It was a group of like friends. They were all of one specific ethnic group,
Yeah, yeah.
and they were like, "Oh, we think you're very slutty," and this all started laughing, and I'm like, "What the fuck is it?" I didn't feel it at that point, and then a little while later, I felt so bad. I left. I went home. I have friends who worked at you know, not gonna take names of bars, at bars in on Church Street, and have talked about sexual harassment and racism so many times.
Yeah.
So many times. This one guy, he was at a bar and he didn't have he was a regular guy. Like he wasn't like a jacked guy. He was like a regular guy like everyone else. And he wanted, I think he was a bar back and he wanted to get promoted to a bartender. And they said to him, well, you got to jack up first, then we'll make you a bartender. I would not be saying that, like, I mean, I do get you that you want to maintain an image, but you have to find ways of rewarding your employees based on performance as well, not just based on looks, right?
Hmm.
Imagine like if I were working at a corporate job and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna bring," and there's a manager position open there. I have applied there. Oh no, we're gonna bring in someone from outside because they're better looking than you are.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter how much work you've done. So it is kind of odd, and it is the way it is. But I mean, it's not right. It's
Yeah,
not the
well, I
way
think
things should
see
be.
that's like what we originally started talking about, like this culture of, the way someone looks and as a man, and like we're talking about in porn that you got to do all these things and look this way and be all that, where people won't like you. It's like there has to be an awareness, or like it was always like, even what I was talking about, like me making porn and just trying to be like, I just want to be with guys I feel safe with. I want it to be more intimate. I want it to be like pleasure focused. That I was like, if we just keep living up to this standard that doesn't really do anybody any good. Like the thing is, it's like, as both of us talking about like liking emotional sex or finding that attractive. It's like that's the thing that I've learned, that yeah, I could be with the hottest guy ever, but like the sex is like, whoa, that was like, I felt nothing. That was so bad. So that's my pet peeve, is like all these things that we're trying to like think that are important are just not important, and they don't really do anybody any good
Exactly.
until
They're not
someone
important,
start.
right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when you hook up with that guy who's like super hot and you leave with a less than, I mean, let's just say a poor experience, you'd be like, oh my God, that none of those things mattered. What actually mattered was your connection with that person, how they made you feel, how you made them feel, what
Yeah.
the connection was. Did you have any chemistry, all that stuff? And I really appreciate you. I remember like this is a couple of years ago, you started talking about body image and how the standard was like the big jacked steroided guy, and I remember there were a couple of posts that you actually talked about how that's not the only thing that should matter. Yeah, there's how you fulfill a need and it's like attractive stuff. Don't get me wrong, like you get a big muscular hairy guy in front of me, like I'm gonna love that. If I have sex with it, would it be great? Maybe, maybe not, who knows. But
And
those
the other
things,
thing,
like we gotta, like the less superficial stuff
yeah,
basically.
yeah. And I was gonna say, like, and the other thing about that is like, yeah, you could fuck that guy once and be exciting, but if the connection wasn't there, eventually that guy, that won't matter. You'd be like, yeah, I don't see him the same way because the sex is bad, or we're not connecting, or like you start to recognize that it's like, my like for myself, I had to learn we're all going to be attracted to the big muscular masculine man because that's what's been presented to us as like a society that's attractive. But then when it comes to like I'm like realizing, oh, I like a guy that like can cry in front of me or feel his feelings or is like an artist or like just expresses his feelings. I'm like now I'm like, oh, that's so hot.
Uh,
Because it also shows me I'm like, wow, this I'm connecting with this person and I think that the sex not always, but the sex can be a lot better because I'm like, wow, this guy's actually kind of shows that he's a bit genuine and he's vulnerable and shows he can like feel all his feelings instead of just presenting.
Authenticity.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It's important. Authenticity is super important because if you're, I mean, I don't know. Like when I go into a scene, I want to make sure that that I like I'm very selective with whoever I film with. If I feel like there's from their Twitter, social media, I know those aren't really representations of who they are in real life, and a lot of times I will be proven wrong. But for me, if I just one look at these teasers and trailers that come out for them, it's going to be you can get an idea of what you should expect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of guys who will, you know, shoot like the non intimate,
Yeah,
way of
yeah.
filming, but then you'll see these couple of videos where with the right person they can actually they actually do get really intimate and really sensual, and it's a lot of fun. Interestingly enough, but again, that's not really necessarily what sells. I don't know if you've done this ever, but those like places like Pornhub or those sites that pirate OnlyFans videos. If you go there and try to search for their most viewed or most liked videos, it'll be very interesting what you see. A lot of them are guys who they're solos.
Mm-hmm.
I found like a few categories. There's solos. They're really popular. Then there's the straight guy acting gay. And
Yeah.
so, and then the third one, strangely enough, I've seen like recently, like twinks have been coming up a lot. Well, I mean, to be fair, that is one for me that's like completely off limits. Like twinks, I cannot do it. And there's a very specific reason. I feel like it's like I don't know,
The
like
age?
yeah, it just
Like
doesn't
they
like for
look
me.
too young?
Yeah,
Like
they look
illegally
really
young?
young. Yeah, I feel like that's really. I've seen a lot of guys film with because that's like it just doesn't like for me. It just like such a huge turn off, especially being a dad. Like that's just like for me,
Yeah.
it's like ew, gross. Like this is not gonna happen. And a lot of people find that very kinky. There's some studios that actually thrive on producing, and some porn stars as well that actually thrive on doing that. And actually, like one of them actually got sent to jail as well.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking
um,
about. But so if not that guy who was actually doing illegal shit, but like it's funny because I do when I was in my 20s, like that's all I dated was men that were like around 50. Like it's well because it was like that's my trauma of like not feeling like I had a male father figure that like
mhm.
took care of me and like loved me in this way that was like really intimate. So I was always like falling for these older guys. So the funny thing, but it's the energy of the younger guy with the older guy. So it's so funny that I'm like, because a lot of the porn is like some twinky, skinny boy with like this
Yeah.
hyper masculine guy. And I'm like, I could watch a porn that's some 80-year-old man having sex with like a 25-year-old. And I'm like, oh, I'm still kind of turned on by this. So I realized I was like, it is the dynamic. And I'm noticing even like I'm only 36, but I notice as I'm like getting older and just feel like I'm getting wiser and like more experience in my life, I'm like, I'm starting to get into younger guys. And I was wondering if it would flip because I was like, when I'm 40, am I just going to like other guys my age? And I'm starting to notice that I'm like, oh, I still love that dynamic. And so when I meet some guys like 22 and is like a sweet, cute guy, I'm like, wow, I'm kind of into this. And when I was 20, I was never into twinks or young guys. I was like, gotta be older. And so now I'm like
You
noticing
live,
the
you learn,
dynamic.
right?
Yeah. And I think it's
I
like,
mean,
right, it's the thing about you're
it's
not in a box.
maturing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you're
And you
maturing.
learn. Yeah.
You learn that hey, there's different types of interaction. There's not just that one kind of attraction. And do you want to tell me more about like why like the trauma and why you actually were attracted to older guys?
Yeah, I mean, this is like, I think the reason why, like, as I said, when I was a kid, like, I only hung out with girls. It was really hard to. I remember thinking when I was a kid, I wish I had a big brother. Like, I have a sister who's a year older than me, but like, I've always been around like feminine energy. And so there was always this like longing for just being Like even when I was at camp or something, and the counselor, who was probably like a teenager, but to me I was like adult at 6 years old, right? There was this,
Figure of authority.
yeah,
Figure of
or just,
authority.
yeah, but that was also like cared about me, and like even in that way that wasn't sexual at all. But I think when I started to like I was who's this guy who's my friend, but when we first met we were having sex and he was this older man, and uh there was such a feeling of he was so smart and wise, so he would like call me out on my bullshit, and like I was 25 or something, and so he would just like be like a dad to me, and I was like, wow, I actually really enjoy this dynamic because I never had this. Not that my dad will ever listen to this, so but my dad just never, my dad didn't know, and I love my dad, but he didn't know how to discipline. He didn't know how to like even be around for shit that we were doing. He wouldn't come to Christmas concerts. So just I always felt like there was never this man in my life that loved me. And so I started to realize, oh, the daddy issue thing for me is that I'm like, oh wow, I really love when a man was kind of like taking care of me in this way that like a dad should. So that
Mm,
energy was really arousing. But this is like, so as a sex coach, I work with people on this, that like a lot of our sexual fantasies and stuff come from our trauma. So what we do is that when we're older, when we're able to like act out on those fantasies, it's like taking back the power that we didn't have when
mm,
we were younger. So like I was missing this when I was younger, but I couldn't do anything about it. Like I was stuck in the situation I was with, not having a dad that was a dad in the way I wanted. But then when I was able to be like, wow, I'm now having like sex with these older men, and I loved calling like fuck me daddy. I like saying that kind of stuff. And so there was something about that that was healing, because I was like, wow, this is the intimacy that I never got that I really wanted. So like a lot of
no,
people like
that's
BDS.
interesting because
Yeah.
it contributes to your your kind of sexual profile, like what attracts you, and that kind of changes as you go. And the reason why I asked you this question was because
Yeah.
I relate it. I can relate it. Have you probably have read the Velvet Rage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it talks about like the same thing, right? The dads, first of all, they weren't trained to be emotional or be there for their kids. Even if they wanted to, they didn't. And then obviously there were men who found it completely wrong for their sons to be effeminate. So I mean, my dad, I feel, was like that too. I think he didn't know how to, and he was very like macho and very like, men should be like this. And I'll give you an example. Like one of the things he said to me once was, our men don't go to like to therapist or something like that. When I was first coming out and I was trying to figure a lot of shit out, he's like, our men don't go to therapists. So I mean, that kind of, that kind of approach. So I think they weren't really made, they weren't really provided with the tools to be able to do that. But that now reflects in us, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you were totally into older guys, and mine's come out in weird ways too. But yeah, it's just how they were brought up. Like for example, my parents, even though they know I'm gay, we don't talk about it.
Hmm.
Uh, and then when a lot of my friends are like, "But you shouldn't hide yourself." I'm like, "I'm not hiding myself. They know who I am. I don't have to always go and explain stuff to them or talk to them. And they're 70 plus years old, whatever.
Yeah.
They've been brought up in a certain way with a certain thinking. It is not my job to change it for them, and honestly, like, will it really matter? They have minimal say in my life. It's not my job to change everyone's opinion in the world, because everyone's entitled to their own opinion. If they're harming someone, that's something different, but they're not
Hmm.
harming anyone, they're not harming me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's,
all those things it's just the way they were brought up, that was a different
yeah.
generation
Yeah.
altogether, but it reflects in us in a different way.
Yeah, like I always say, like my family, like my whole family knows I'm gay, but they don't know I'm queer. And by that I mean that like their idea of me being gay is like Vance likes men and that's it.
Mhm.
But like
Yeah.
my queerness is like all this like fluidity stuff, doing porn, like being a sex coach, kind of being more like authentic in my life and all this stuff, like, or even just the people I hang out with, things that I do is like that's all my queerness. Okay, I could talk to you forever, but I got it. So just like wrap it up.
Yeah.
But oh my god, I've loved chatting with you. You're so, it's like goes back to what I was saying, is that I didn't expect you to be obviously like just looking at your porn videos. How could I like see that? I was like, oh wow, he's like really smart and really sensitive, like talking about feelings, emotions. So like, yeah, it's been wonderful talking with you.
I'm all about feelings and emotions. I told you I have borderline personality disorder. One of the
Yeah.
biggest things about that is that you feel way more intensely than others do. I'm like a walking bag full of
Yeah,
feelings
yeah, yeah.
and emotions.
Yeah. Do you see that as a like a positive thing though? That then, or does it get in the way having like the
Sometimes it's
personality disorder?
positive. Sometimes it's positive because it helps me connect with people, and I'm usually very genuine because there's so much happening that's very difficult for me to. A lot of people are very reserved and they will keep things like keep walls up. It's very
Yeah.
difficult for me to do that, and there are like psychological issues behind that. Like so, not just the borderline personality disorder, but sometimes a bit. It's a lot. It's very tiring. Like I constantly have to be keeping my thoughts in check because they go on a downward slope pretty fast. And so, which is one of the reasons I don't party that much. I don't go out that frequently because for me, if I go out and I get tired, my brain's tired, so it gets difficult for me to manage the disorder well.
Yeah, totally.
And people kind of don't understand that, but that's how it kind of. So it has its positives and negatives. It's challenging, don't get me wrong, but it's helped me so far. And so fingers crossed. It's I'll keep managing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same way with like I struggle with addiction stuff my whole life, and like when it's like, yeah, I like to go out and party and stuff, but there's like a huge side effect of like if you go out and party hard tonight, like you're gonna be feeling depressed and anxious for like 4 days after.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think I'm just getting to a place where I'm like, it's not worth it all the time, and like, or it has to be really fun for it to be worth it, and I really have to like being sober, just not drinking. I smoke a lot of pot, but like pot doesn't affect me the same way. But I really have to be careful because I'm like, my feelings are really intense. And if I'm in a low, they're really intense. And,
Hmm.
but if I usually can like feel like I have more control over not reacting to my feelings, and that usually happens when I'm feeling healthy and feeling like I've slept and haven't drank or done
Yeah,
hard drugs. So it's like, okay, it's like it's work though. I do find that I have to like work hard at it
but
to
it's
feel
you
like I'm
can
a
you can have both, right? Like I don't
yeah,
feel there's anything wrong with you partying as long as you know like what your limits are and
yeah,
what you need to do to recover from that to become, I'd say, like normal in your activities. I mean, obviously, if you've partied too hard, you're obviously not going to be the same energy level the next day. But if you have that under control, I tell my kids this all the time. Anything in excess is bad. Watching too much TV is also, also there's an addiction to that. Like everything can be an addiction, and everything. You just need to make sure that you have a balance and understand that there are consequences to each thing that you do. So if you go and snort some coke, I mean, be aware of the consequences. You might not be
yeah,
in your
yeah.
senses. You might have a headache afterwards or whatever. Like just be aware of the consequences. I can't stop you from doing things, but I will tell you that you need to understand the consequences and be informed. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, yeah. Totally self-aware.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question. What are you most excited for right now in your life?
Oh my God, that's an interesting question. I would have to think about it. No, I mean I'll say like a thing that currently like I'm not in the best kind of, I'd say, I wouldn't say like the best situation. I'd say so. I recently went through a breakup that's bearing down hard on me, and then I've got a very 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 intense job. Like it's extremely intense, and there's a lot of politics involved with the job as well. So I'm not really. I've been trying to cope with a lot of things that have been happening. So I guess to say what I'd be excited was is like getting back to normal. That's what I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Uh that's kind
That
of yeah, I was going to say I had a break. So I was just gonna say I had a break. I had a breakup in April too, and actually, it's funny that I'm feeling like I felt like this summer has kind of been like I had a mental breakdown, and but a lot of shit happened that I learned about myself, and a lot of the stuff that I was like, wow, I've just been really sad and lonely for a while, even before this, and but I feel the same way
you
that I'm
learn a
actually
lot through these like
yeah
weird moments, right?
yeah
And
the
I'm
hard
sorry if
stuff
I were there, I'd give you a hug.
yeah it's okay
But unfortunately, you can't do virtual hugs. So I'm
yeah
really
yeah
sorry you went through that.
You too, but I'm it's funny because I feel like I'm coming on the other side of it, and just like what you said, like I'm kind of just excited to feel like just
Normal
like
again, right?
yeah, like just to feel like
Regular Vance again.
yeah, like I feel like now I can just like sit and chill out on my couch and watch TV and not be like, oh my god, what the fuck is going on in my life? I'm and like so I feel like I can sit with myself again, and like that's the feeling that's the best is just when especially when
I
you
get
go
it.
through something
I've
hard.
gotten out of that. I was literally for 2 weeks. I did nothing but lay in bed and stare at the ceiling. I didn't even go into work.
Yeah.
I'd answer like emails here and there, but I didn't even go into work. I'm not kidding, 2 whole weeks. I lay in the bed back there and stared at the ceiling.
Mm.
That's all I did.
Aw.
So I mean, we all have our ways. Just trying to make sense of all this stuff that's happening around you, right?
Yeah.
But you learn through these experiences, which is great.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I learned so much about just, I was like, so much grief that I was carrying. And I was like, even with the breakup, it's like, you can intellectualize it and be like, oh, yeah, it wasn't working out. But then I started to realize it was like, fuck, I've been holding on to like a lot of stuff, even just like
Mm.
grief of friends and like people that just aren't in my life anymore. And I was like, it just triggered this huge like release, which I think I needed and was kind of holding on to for a long time. But
That is amazing because that's these kinds of situations I feel are super important because you hold on to some grief. A friend of mine, she lost her dad a couple of years ago, and she's still grieving that. But then whenever something else, like something she has to grieve for something else, like her friend's mother passed away, so she was grieving for that. So she always says like she's like this grief brings up my dad's grief as well, but it in some ways it's good because it helps her process that grief as well, even though it's
mhm,
painful, but it helps her process it. So I think it's a good thing you got that chance and opportunity to kind of at least experience and get through some of the past grief that you've experienced in life.
yeah. And are you feeling good now too?
I'm feeling I think I'm starting to get out of it now. Like the past couple of days
Yeah.
have actually been pretty good. I mean, like one of the things the gym is something that really helps me. I mean, I feel like it
Hmm.
it really helps me feel like I've at least accomplished something from the day for the day. But even when I was in the couch and on the bed, like there would be days when I'd go to the gym, right? I mean, like I'd
Yeah.
because I know that's what kind of helps me not feel completely useless in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
slowly
that's the thing.
recovering.
Yeah, that's what the gym and fitness and all that stuff has kind of been for me is like, and because I am like, I do struggle with addiction, that I'm like, the gym has been something that's like, go to the gym. It's this thing that I'm like, I won't do part or I won't party or do drugs thing because I was like, I need to go to the gym because it makes me feel better. And it's this like grounding anchor in my life that like kind of is like, this is important because it makes you feel so much better. So it kind of is like, even when I'm feeling like shit, I always have like, you can go work out and it might just make you feel better for like the hour while you're there, but like that's better than nothing.
We I know we're wrapping this session up, but we got to do another session. I do want to talk about substance abuse stuff with you because I'd really like to
Totally, yeah.
learn because it's an interesting topic and a lot of other gay guys also go through the same. And sometimes I wonder like do because I smoke a lot of pot too. Am I addicted? Is this a substance abuse problem? Sometimes I think yeah, it might be, but then other times I'm functioning normally with it, so it should be good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's something
we should have another one, another part two of this.
yeah, I know I have to like wrap this up, but the one thing I'll say about the pot thing that I've all this addiction stuff is like I was a full-blown alcoholic when I was younger and stuff, and it's like it was like some psychologist or something was talking about this, but they said like all these things that we're doing and using things are to calm our nervous system. It's just the effect of them, right? Like you can doom scroll for an hour. Like, yeah, that'll calm your nervous system. Maybe the effects of like you're kind of out of it and wasn't present for like an hour, but like it's not the same as if I drink a bottle of vodka in a night and feel sick for 4 days after. And so I think about pot as the same, that like I totally am addicted to pot. It's just that I can function, go out, do my work. I'm not like out of it. And sometimes I'm more like present when I'm smoking weed, but it just chills me out. And I'm trying right now, like today, I smoked weed when I got up, which I've been doing for a while, but I usually would just continue to smoke
I've
weed
been
all
there.
day. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
been there, done
But
that.
yeah, I haven't smoked weed since I got up, which was like 8 hours ago. And so it's like, okay. And again, it's, I think this thing of I'm feeling a bit better in my life and being like, I don't need to, I don't need to run away from my anxiety and my pain and stuff that pot was also doing. It was helping me to chill out about it.
It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
One of my best friends here, he has depression, like he's on medication, and he always like he smokes pot like a motherfucker.
Hmm.
And we both talked about this, and it's like it's a coping mechanism. It's just how we cope with the immense amount of feelings that we get. It's not, and a lot of people might say you're weak because you're indulging in substance use,
Mm.
but no, it's a cope. Everyone deals with it very differently.
Yeah, and lots of people like, I mean, how many people are on antidepressants and things like that? And again, it's like there's no shame to any of it. It's whatever
Yeah.
works for you, but be self-aware of understanding that if I drink every day, that's going to have some long-term and short-term effects that are way
Yep.
worse than smoking pot every day. But again, it's your life and your body, and you choose how you decide to deal with that. But it's just everyone's got to be self-aware and their own ability to say this isn't working for me anymore, or this does work for me if it does. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, we
Agree
got to do
100%.
I'll do another episode about anything because I love talking to you.
This is amazing. This was pretty good. Like I like the free flow of chatter that we've had. So it's amazing. We got to do another one. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, thanks for listening or watching. If this conversation turns something on in you, even just a little curiosity, let me know. Comment, follow, or share it with someone you think would vibe with it. Appreciate you being here.